So if you're looking at it like I'm looking at it, the prize pool went from 500,000 to 660,000, a differential of $160,000 in my mind. And in some other people, I think you think, okay, well, Blizzard threw in 500K and they raised $160,000. How did they raise that? Well, they offered 25% of these items that were for sale, and they were like $10 each, if I remember correctly. If you go to buy some of these items, you'll see them in the shop, I believe, yeah, $10. So every purchase is basically contributing $2.50. Now you can buy the Transmorpher Beacon, or you could buy this. So potentially you might buy both. So people might be buying $20, might be spending $20 or contributing $5. It's hard to know exactly. At the time, there was mixed feelings. You have people saying like, or a company with billions of dollars of revenue could support their own tournament. Yeah, I know, crazy talk. And other people seeming on board. Now, what you see yesterday is this guy tweeting out $2.6 million in sales, total 50K increase in AWC prize pool, all crowdfunded. There's all sorts of bad math here that I don't understand. 100K across both AWC and MDI, right? Less than 4%. He goes on to say the prize pools from both AWC and MDA is crowdfunded, $0 from Blizzard, 12.5% of the 2.6 million. Where is this 2.6 million coming from? Nobody knows. He goes on to say, wrong, the guaranteed prize pool of 500K would only happen if the toy sales didn't go well. There is no base prize pool. Where did you see 2.6 million in toy sales? 660,000 divided by 2 is 330K each. 660K is 25% of 2.6-ish. Again, this math is not correct. 25% of 2.6 million is 650K, not 660K. And he goes on to say, nah, they legit added $0. I can't find any evidence of this. I have no idea where. Again, you see heels versus babyface in here. Do we have accurate sales figures on the toys, though? This is the part that needs to be absolutely qualified. This seems to be an unsubstantiated rumor. And if you look at even when I did the math, I retweeted him and said, I'm sorry, if I go here, I say, none of this math works out. Trying to cover this, but firstly, 25% of 2.6 million is 650K, not 660K. Also, didn't they promise 500K? Isn't it possible that they only had sales of 640,000? Then 25% of that is the additional 160,000. And I said, believe me, I want to blast Blizzard, but this doesn't make sense. And I don't think anyone can say, I have not found any evidence to the contrary. And, as much as people want to roast me, who are ultra, unwavering Blizzard fans, I understand that, but understand that I'm trying to be honest here and thorough. And you can see that I don't think this math works out. $640,000 in sales at $10 a piece, means that 64,000 purchases were made, and that's probably reasonable. Again, we don't know, but I would say, isn't it possible that they only, quote unquote, sold 64,000 cosmetic purchases? I mean, look, there's a few million people that play WoW. A tiny percent of them are interested in esports. I'd be willing to accept that this is plausible, as opposed to Blizzard making 2.6 million at $10 a piece and then keeping all of the money. I don't know that this makes sense. You have, D Machine here. I've DM'd him. I've tweeted him. He's not replied to anything, but there seems to be this perpetuating rumor that, again, the original wording implied that there would be crowdfunding on top of the base of 500K, not that this would be a safeguard. So in the end, Blizzard who benefits this whilst the players see a minuscule increase in their prize pool. I don't know. This 2.6 million is nowhere publicly. I think someone just backed into the math and said, well, If the prize pool is 660K, they must have sold 2.6 million. And now I'm mad. I don't think that there's anything going on here. And then you see Sea-Doo saying, hope this isn't true. And you see true. Blizzard is contributing $0 toward the AFC and MDA as well. Prize pool is 100% from crowdfunding after they pocketed $2 million for themselves. So disappointed. Also kind of shameless use crowdfunding and player brands to make them money. He said, I looked in his replies, he's insinuated that he was told by somebody else that they had 2.6 million in sales, but at no point has he proved anything, shared any screenshots, and he himself says 660K divided by 2 is 25% of 2.6 million. I don't get it. And he goes on to say that D-Machine, he alludes that D-Machine is the one that told him about the prize pool, but where? I don't see any of this. I think this might be much ado about nothing. He says, I asked D-Machine himself. I'm sure he wouldn't mind clarifying. It just doesn't say it in the post. If you sold 2.6 million in cosmetics and basically backed out, at minimum, you have poor wording on the original post. If you sold 160,000 worth of additional prize pool, again, that's reasonable. I think remember, if you added 160K to the additional prize pool, that means that 160K is 25% of total sales, which means you divide that by 0.25 to give you $640,000 in total cosmetic sales. That's probably a reasonable number. We'll have to wait to see more here. I'm not seeing a lot going on to indicate that Blizzard is acting incorrectly here. You know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think you've got to be fair. In addition, Blizzard Gear Store leak appears to show off World of Warcraft's next expansion. Of course, all these leaks, in my opinion, in current age and current day, and given everything that's going on with Blizzard, are absolutely intended. You see, this new World of Warcraft expansion, Battle for Azeroth, is coming to a close. We can expect more details about patch 8.3 to hit at BlizzCon, along with the details about the next expansion. A leak on the Blizzard Gear Store is a big hint as to what's coming next. This shot of Bolvar, the new Lich King, started circulating on social media as a piece of merchandise on the Blizzard Gear Store. That image currently still exists on the Gear Store. The Shadowlands have been brought up quite a bit throughout Battle for Azeroth. They're essentially where your soul goes after you die. Sylvanas Windrunner, who's arguably served as BFA's main character, has also been very obsessed with death. Data miners have discovered a whole lot to do with Bolvar and his army of the Death Knights on patch 8.3 PTR. Bolvar's daughter, Talia, also shows up as a major player in the campaign for Battle for Azeroth. When you put it all together, this Shadowlands leak looks very viable, and we have World of Warcraft Shadowlands. Enter the Shadowlands, explore the glorious lands of Bastion, meet the noble Kyrian, discover new abilities. An additional leak seen above that circulate on social media suggests that the next expansion is indeed called Shadowlands. Players will be able to call the new land Bastion, meeting the noble Kyrian. I have to say, Shadowlands seems like a pretty spicy expansion, especially this time of year. If it were rolling out for Halloween, that would be even better. I always like that dark, gritty kind of approach to World of Warcraft as opposed to, the kind of happy-go-lucky, whimsical stuff. Now, not all good news, though, for Blizzard. After a terrible 2019, Blizzard is going all in at BlizzCon. The plan was to wait for BlizzCon in November 2018 after a PR blowup surrounding an ill-advised announcement of the mobile game Diablo Immortal. Blizzard staff knew that they just needed to make it through the next year without incident. If they could, they would be able to win fans back with a suite of killer announcements. Rumors of upcoming layoffs were making employees anxious, and the suits over Activision end of the company had been exerting their influence more and more. Then 2019 happened, culminating in an international debacle that saw Democrats and Republicans unite to condemn a video game company, possibly a historical first, on October 6th. We talked about that. With BlizzCon starting this Friday in Anaheim, it's fair to wonder how people will react since last year Blizzard had been planning to go all in with this BlizzCon. When asked about the plans concerning this year's BlizzCon, a Blizzard spokesperson sent over the following statement. BlizzCon has always been a place where we celebrate the passion and diversity of the Blizzard community. When we encourage and support the many creative and thoughtful ways attendees share and reflect their views, blah, blah, blah. The safety and security of our attendees has always been on top priority, and every year we iterate with new measures to bring even more up to date while doing everything we can to create a comfortable environment. Everyone at Blizzard has been working very hard with the lead up to BlizzCon. We appreciate all of the interest in learning about our potential plans for the show. It's not that Blizzard's recent problems started with Hong Kong. The last couple of years have been rough. The 28-year-old company has long been one of the most beloved companies in gaming thanks to top-notch franchises like Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo. In May of 2016, they released Overwatch, a smash hit both critically and commercially. By the beginning of 2018, the Blizzard staff was clear: make more games but cut costs. And we talked about February of last year. In May, Blizzard canceled StarCraft. October brought Hong Kong. In other words, 2019 has been bad for Blizzard's public perception. I asked 3 Blizzard employees what they thought about all this, and they all seemed relaxed about the prospect of protests and Twitch spam. A small sample size, granted, but their consensus was that at the end of the day, the big game reveals will win. New entries in 2 of the biggest franchises on the planet will likely make gamers forget all about the controversy unless Q&A goes particularly awry and turns into this year's most viral meme. We talked about actually having Blizzard lose some longtime developers as well last year, and it's going to be interesting. We saw Blizzard confirms the departure of veteran developers amid canceled projects. This is as of 14 hours ago. Blizzard has confirmed the departure of 3 long developers from the company amid cancellations of some unannounced projects. The devs left the studio as reallocating resources for the imminent reveal of 2 major sequels. As reported by Kotaku's Dustin Browder, former director of Heroes of the Storm, lead designer of StarCraft II, Eric Dodds, and former director of Hearthstone, and Jason Chase, former production director of Hearthstone, all left their positions when the StarCraft first-person shooter and mobile game were scrapped. Blizzard wanted to channel those teams into the development of much-anticipated Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2, both of which are expected to be announced at this year's BlizzCon. In a statement released to Kotaku, a Blizzard spokesperson confirmed the report, saying that these creators will always be a part of the publisher's shared history. Yes, Eric, Dustin, and Jason made the decision to move on from Blizzard a few months ago. They have always been considered members, will always be considered members of the Blizzard family. We wish them the best. I mean, people do leave their jobs. You know, there's probably a lot of emotion when you see projects get canceled. It's tough to deal with that because you get emotionally invested. Blizzard has had a tumultuous time the past few weeks, everything from Blitzchung to players planning on boycotts, major events being canceled, and things took worse turn when Blizzard claimed its action against Blitzchung weren't politically motivated, garnering widespread cynicism. While it's exciting to have another report that we'll be seeing Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2 revealed at BlizzCon, along with whatever else is in store, it's going to take some time and effort to relieve the skepticism and negative perception this controversy has left. Well, I got to admit, if they announce some killer World of Warcraft expansion, you know, something interesting for Hearthstone players, if everybody gets something, plus, you know, Overwatch 2 looks good for the Overwatch players, these people are right. A lot of people will forgive and forget, and maybe that's just the right action. I don't know. I wish that they would readdress their Chinese overlords, to be honest with you. Blizzard will forever have this stain on their history in my mind, but at the end of the day, some people just got to enjoy their video games, and you've got to understand and respect that too. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.